Pesachim Daf Lamed Gimel. Today's email comes from Yehuda Wyman. He writes, "I'm a big fan of your shir. On my recent trip to Vegas, the first thing that I did when I started packing was to make a copy of the 2 daf that I needed while I was away. 12 months ago, no one would have believed that the first thing that I would think about for a trip was printing out something learning related. Furthermore, the first 6 years of my marriage, I almost never picked up a sefer. I've been going strong since brachas and can honestly say that it's changed mine and my family's life." Yehuda Wyman, unbelievable. And one more quick one from Yossi from England, from the Jewish Weekly, says that he casually mentioned to Zeishes Chayil that he completed 1 year since start. Yesterday was the 1 year in the lunar year of Daf Yomi since brachas, over 350 daf. She bought me a beautiful globe decanter set representing your global shir. So here's Rabbi Yossi and the beautiful set that he got for a gift. We're learning an amazing sugya today. Yesterday, we were discussing how much does one have to eat from truma in order to be chayiv keren v'choymesh. Machlokes Tanna Kamma says all you need to eat is a kazayis. Abba Shaul says that it has to be a pruta's worth. Comes Rav Papa and says what Abba Shaul meant is that you need both, a kazayis and a pruta. The Gemara goes through an 8-step proof to prove that Rav Papa retracted that. And he says Abba Shaul only requires a pruta's worth, not a kazayis. And it goes something like this. The pasuk, when it comes to Me'ilah and Hegdish, using something from the Beis HaMikdash, says you're only chayiv if you do it b'shogeg, not b'mezid. As the Gemara, why do you need a pasuk? Kavachaymer from all other averos, let's say from dam, chaylev, they're a lot more severe. They have karis, whereas Me'ilah only has mis v'dei shomayim. In other words, karis is more severe than mis v'dei shomayim. And if you do dam v'chaylev b'mezid, you don't bring a carbon. Certainly Me'ilah. Says the Gemara, very interesting teretz. No, Me'ilah is more chomer because it has misa b'dei shomayim, and the other ones only have kares. What's going on? A second ago you said that kares is more chomer. That's the Gemara's question in step 4. So the Gemara has a number of answers. First answer is that Me'ilah has misa b'dei shomayim even if a person consumes less than a kazayis. And the Gemara says that the Amoraim, they threw an axe at this pshat. They didn't like the pshat. What does it mean? Who says that Me'ilah deserves misa b'dei shomayim? It's Rebbe. How does he know it? From Truma. So if you're going to learn from Truma, learn everything from Truma. Just like Truma needs a full kazayis to be over, so to Me'ilah. As Rav Papa, what do you mean? Maybe Rebbe holds like Abba Shaul, who holds that you don't need a kazayis. All you need is a pruta. Boom. Here you see Rav Papa holds that all Abba Shaul requires is a pruta, not a kazayis. That's the end of the 8th step. But now going back to the 3rd step, that the Gemara says, oh, Me'ilah is more chamor than other averos because it has misa v'dei shomayim. Well, everybody knows that kares is more severe than misa v'dei shomayim. Kares affects a person at an earlier age, and it affects his children. So the Gemara says two pshat. Maybe what it meant to say is there was a problem in the girsa, and what the Gemara meant to say is the shogeg of Me'ilah is more chamor than the shogeg of anything else. For instance, on Shabbos, if a person doesn't have kavanah, you need meleches machshavas, and if a person has kavanah to cut talish, something that's detached from the ground, and by mistake he cut something that's attached to the ground, he's potter. But in Me'ilah you'd be chayiv, and that's why Me'ilah is mochamer. You can't learn a kal v'chaymer. Rav Nachman Yitzchak doesn't like that. He says, well, if a person had kavanah to cut, then what difference does it make if he thought it was attached, detached? He's still chayiv. Well, there's something very similar, says Rav Nachman Yitzchak. It's called misasek. A person had zero kavanah to cut. What he wanted to do is lift a knife off the ground, and he didn't realize that there's a branch there, and he cut the branch. That's called misasek. He had no intent at all. In Hilchas Shabbos and all of the Torah, any other aver in the world, you're not chayiv. Besides Me'ilah, that if a person just wanted to put his hand somewhere to grab something, and by mistake he put his hand into a bowl of oil that belongs to the Beis HaMikdash, and it anointed his hand, he's chayiv. The Gemara tells us that you cannot be mafresh, you can't give truma on Pesach from wheat that's attached to the ground and is chametz. It's possible for wheat to become chametz when it's attached to the ground because it never had a shas hakosher. It never had one moment in its existence where it was not chametz. And the Torah tells us, Titen loy, you shall give the kohen the truma. That means that he has to be able to consume it by eating it, and not just to put it in a flame. Loy, the loy, l'uroi. This that you cannot take truma that is tameh and use it to make and be mafresh truma from that on something that's tahar, that's actually going to cause a loss to the kohen because now you're giving him food that's tameh, and he cannot eat it. He can only use it for burning a fire. So you can't do that. And what happens if you did so? You mafresh from truma tameya on tar by mistake, b'shayik, it works. Why does it work? It's not for the kohen to eat. We just said the kohen has to be able to eat it. The answer is because it had a shasa kosher. There was one moment in its time before this food became tameh where it was tar. And therefore, it does work to make truma with it. Rav Yeshua says something else. Even if we're talking about chametz that's detached from the ground, it's not capable of becoming truma on Pesach itself. You can't take fruit that's detached from the ground and make it truma. Why? Torah says reishis, which means that the leftovers have to be noticeable. How are leftovers noticeable? In other words, you have to be able to take truma and make food that was usher for Yisrael, mutter for the Yisrael. But since it's Pesach, how are you taking this food that's usher and it remains usher because it's chametz? The halacha is that any size food can become tamei. It's mekabel tuma, even less than a kazayis, a kolshu. However, to transmit tuma, the food needs to be the size of a kibetza. Says Rabbi Yochanan, in a case where you have grapes that are tamei, you're permitted to take grapes less than a kibetza, squeeze them, and use the wine for nesachim on the mizbeach. Rabbi Yochanan holds that the juice inside the grapes are not part of the grape. Mifkat pakid. Rabbi Chizda argues, and he says that the juice inside the grape is part of the grape, mivla bali. So Gemara brings a raya from a tmei mace. Somebody who touched a corpse, he's an avatuma, and he's squeezing grapes and olives. It says if it's exactly the size of a kibetza, everything is tar. And the reason is because as soon as he gives it a squeeze and the juice comes out, it's no longer a kibetza, and then it doesn't have the power to transmit tuma to the juice. However, when it comes to truma, if it's exactly a kibetza, it is tamei. Why? Because we have to make a gzeira that people might come to use something that's slightly more than a kibetza, and they'll be over. However, we can bring proof from here. Why do we say that if it's exactly a kibetza, it's tar? What about all the juices inside the kibetza? Aren't they part of these grapes? And you have a kibetza, it should transmit tuma. If you hold that the juice is part of the grape, you have more than a kibetza. Obviously, you see from here that the juice is not part of the grape. Says Gemara, no, for a different reason. We know the concept of the hechsher tuma. In order for these grapes to become tamei, you need to put one of the 7 liquids on them. One of the 7 liquids is their own liquid, the wine. Now, once you squeeze it out to get that wine to make it a muksher, it's no longer a kibetza. We had yesterday, Rabbi Kiva says that truma, which is chametz, is similar to the case of berries and grapes that have 0 value. Just like on chametz, truma chametz has 0 value, so too berries and grapes, which are tamei, have 0 value. The question is, why don't they have value? You could use the juice. The juice is not part of the grapes, so they have value. So we must say that the reason why they have no value is because you can't use it because of a takala. We're concerned that something will go wrong. People might eat the whole grape. They won't realize you can only use the juice, and they'll eat the whole grape. Abai says in general, we're not concerned about a takala. You see that if you have bread that's tamei, you're allowed to use it for firewood. Rava argues, he says the only time you're allowed to use it for firewood is if it's mos, oil that you can use for a flame. If you make it disgusting, you throw it into a kli that's disgusting, you take the bread, put it in a place that's disgusting, have a wonderful day.